live? Okay, we are live. Yeah. All right, guys. Good morning. Happy Saturday morning. Let me get pulled up on Spaces. There we go. Start listening. Accept, yeah. Good morning, Zen. You're muted.
What's up?
Happy Saturday morning to you.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Just making the coffee. My son's been pretty sick, so he's just up all night.
Oh no. Were you up tending to him?
Luckily, I'm not the main tender because he doesn't really want me, but...
Right. Yeah, he wants his mom. The nurturer. Man, it's been an exciting week, has it not?
It's been a good week for sure. We were doing some running. Pulse Chain was doing some running. We get benefited by both, so we'll take either, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love it when I see Pulse moving a little bit because I know what that means for us. So that's where my focus is, honestly. I like to see, our tokens move, but Pulse has to succeed for pTGC and UFO to succeed. So I love it when I see movement there.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to each. Like us moving against Pulse, we get every X we do against Pulse, we get that multiplier to whatever Pulse does. So that's like the pro on that end, but a pro of just Pulse moving and us just getting dragged up by Pulse is our liquidity pools increased by the same amount of X's. So if Pulse goes up 10x, then our liquidity pools go up 10x. To where if we just go up 10x, it's not that same equation. The liquidity pools don't increase as much. So I look at it as both are very, very important, right? For the last 6 months, Pulse has been trending down while we've been trending up. So it's been starving, not even only our project, but all projects of their liquidity, because liquidity is mostly tied with Pulse. And if Pulse keeps decreasing, that means the dollar value decreases in those liquidity pools. So it'd be nice for Pulse to get brought back up, even just a sat, because that equals more liquidity on the whole entire chain, equals more liquidity for us, that equals more liquidity for our bots to move around, which means more volume on chain, which then ranks us higher. Then we have more value locked because there's more value here, which ranks us higher. So it overall just makes our chain look better.
I was on a meeting yesterday in a group, and the gentleman, you know him, was demonstrating with spreadsheets the presumed RH Ethereum and sacrifice money, all that, and speculating what could happen when Ethereum moves in multiples, with the spreadsheet, just having fun. What could happen to the price of Pulse should he bring that value over to the network? And it was beyond impressive. Like the ultimate biggest number. Well, let me start with 100x, 500x, 1000x for Pulse chain was the minimum. And then it went up from there. I was just like, what is in store for this network and the holders of pTGC and UFO over the next, whatever it's going to be, year, 10 months, whatever, it's very exciting. But this is a thought that I had. A friend of mine, he's in the chat, Frank, asked in another group the other day, he says, so what's the definition of a pump? Like, if a token is pumping, what's the definition of a token that's pumping? And I just shot from the hip. I'm like 10% in a day, and I think that's a pretty good metric. So if Pulse did, for example, 100x between now and say next October, what would it have to do in percent per day? And that's the question. I haven't had time to build it into a spreadsheet, but it wouldn't be difficult for somebody to do. So, because if it's 10% per day between now and next October, that doesn't sound realistic to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, one thing you have to keep in mind, just when you do calculate that, is how they calculate it is 10% off the current day's price. So you can't just keep adding 10%, because every time it goes up 10%, it's now a new value that it has to bring up 10%.
Correct.
So so for example, if you go up 2x in a matter of a week, well, that new 10% was a lot different than the old 10%.
Right.
And it starts to kind of multiply and ratchet up pretty quick. And that's why, in my opinion, DCAing is very, very important, because if you can scoop any project like PulseChain, PulseX, and Inc. at these low levels, just imagine if you didn't and you just only had your SAC rate. Well, now you're already up, 3x right when we go back to SAC rate. So,
right.
That sounds like much, but just imagine, let's say we do a 10x on PulseChain from SAC rate. Well, you're up 30x. That's a huge different number than the people who are only up 10x.
Right.
Or let's say they're up 30. Well, now you're close to 100. Those lower buys really make a difference when they start ratcheting up.
Yes, they do. They really do. Yeah, all of us wish we could have been in earlier. Well, most of us. Does any?
Well, I was just talking about PulseChain. I think really, what's the difference of buying PulseChain right now compared to the exact bottom? It's not much of a difference. It's like 40% max.
Oh, right.
It's literally just right there, in my opinion. People were really happy the last few days, and I'm super happy that PulseChain is now moving back up, but we're still just super, super undervalued. I'm definitely glad to see the sentiment change, but it's still a great price to keep DCAing in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm onboarding people, having that conversation with people privately. And I think both of these tokens and PulseChain, who knows what's going to happen in the future, but yeah. And I tend to be a blue sky kind of guy. So I have to approach that with a bit of hesitation, as far as onboarding people. But I'm very
right now, in my opinion, is one of the best times to onboard. One, because we have the pTGC chart to show to people a successful project on PulseChain, because people want to see a successful chart. It's really hard to sell the PulseChain chart to people currently, even though this is the right time to onboard someone to the PulseChain network. Because you want to be onboarding, especially people in real life, to a blockchain that's undervalued. So I'm sure you've onboarded someone in the real world and the price has gone down, and it's just kind of a salty relationship from there.
Yes.
So in the real world, I think it's really important to look at when stuff is extremely undervalued, like PulseChain, and that's really the right time to be onboarding stuff. And then currently with pTGC, it's nice to show them a decent chart, and then they don't need to understand the mechanics of how liquidity works, because they're like no coiners and stuff like that. But we know, even though our chart's looking amazing right now, we still know all of PulseChain is extremely undervalued. And technically, if PulseChain's undervalued, we're undervalued, because everything in liquidity is ratio based. So right now is like what I think is the perfect time to not only onboard people to pTGC and UFO, but just to Pulse Chain in general. Because we got the good chart to show them, but then also in the back of our head, we know the blockchain is so undervalued, it creates a safe situation for the onboarding process.
Yeah.
Especially because timing with the bull market too, it's not like and this is just in my opinion, if the bull market happens, blah, 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 no financial advice, but let's say we know we're going to have 6 months of, we don't know, we think we're going to have 6 months of good times ahead of us. So the people you onboard now don't have to wait out 3 years. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you get them in, it's some action, they feel positive about it, and then they keep educating themselves more. They probably even make a little bit of money, which is awesome, right?
Yeah. I forget that. And I need that reminder that, we are still below sacrifice rate. So, if a person wants to speculate on an amazing projects, on a brand new network that hasn't even been discovered yet, now's a great time. And interesting, there was a gentleman in the chat I saw yesterday asking how he could get money over from Binance, and I'm just thinking to myself, here they come. Here they come. That was exciting to me. I know it's been happening in the background, but it was nice to see it. Do you have any idea, where people are coming from? I mean, like, I know you said on Space a couple weeks ago that people aren't swapping from RH tickers into, I think that's what you said, into these assets, pTGC and UFO. They're coming from outside, like Ethereum, bridging over. What are your comments on that?
I currently think bringing fresh capital in is probably the best thing to do as far as Pulse Chain's prices, because obviously Pulse Chain's undervalued, so compared to the US dollar, so then technically everything that's built on this chain that has sustainability is undervalued comparatively to the dollar. You can use Pulse, but obviously Pulse is on a discount, so you're kind of swapping something at a discount, which a lot of people don't like to do. But I do see both. I see some people swapping Pulse they already had. I see some people kind of closing out some of the projects that they don't think maybe have as much sustainability and longevity that pTGC and UFO have. So they're kind of going through their portfolio and saying, like, all ships are going to rise together, but if any of these ships have a leak, they just sink to the bottom of the ocean. They don't actually get to rise with the rest of the ships. So they're kind of, I think, going through their portfolios and cleaning it up and really getting their bull run bags ready. But then I also do see fresh money coming over the bridge, which is awesome. Just in the last 2 days, I've helped two buddies that are pretty much no pointers go through the whole process of getting money over the bridge, opening a MetaMask and everything, which is a few hour process, to be honest.
Yes.
So, it really just takes one at a time. And one of my buddies who I was doing it for was like, I have some other people who are interested. Should I just get them in contact with you? And I'm like, no, don't get them in contact with me. I just taught you how to do it.
There you go. Yeah. Well,
that's now you educate people on how to do it, so that they can educate people. It's like, I don't want you bringing them back to me.
Hey, how do you think I feel, bro?
Well, Coach, you got a whole class on it, so.
Yeah, you can always say.
It's my,
you signed up for that service.
hey, it's a fun service to do, I'll take it.
Well, who in the spaces would like to come up and say a few words? I see Viber Finance in here. Great. Shaka, as always. Mando. Empty. Lots of familiar faces. It's interesting too. I always see some new faces also. Like every space that we have, there are new people in here.
Yeah, I did see right before some of those items, and if no one wants to come up and talk, we'll talk about those items.
That sounds great. Yeah, and if somebody wants to just, how do you like raise your hand, or I forget how you do it. But yeah, guys, you can see on your end what you got to do to draw attention to yourself, and then we'll pivot over to you if you got a question or a comment. But yeah, I'd like to hear Mando's questions. I mean, topics for us to discuss.
Well, before we go and move forward, we have about 47 people in the room. We have 8 likes and 4 retweets. That ratio sucks. I think our bots need to pick up and start smashing that like and retweeting.
Yeah, agreed. I need to do it too. I couldn't do it on my laptop.
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
Vibra, what's up, dude? How you doing?
Another day in paradise. It feels great to see our baby starting to move. And I've gotten a lot of people in the last week or two who have been asking about pTGC and Alien. And they don't want anything to do with pulse chain. They're not admitting they don't want anything to do with pulse chain, but I think they're going into the whole all of our age. But it's such a good onboarding tool to have these coins, the charts, the proven history, the communities, and most importantly, all the rewards. You know, it's basically liquid staking. You just earn more, and people love this. And I'm just, it just blows my mind that people truly don't really understand what's going on yet. It takes a while to see how these contracts work. And when the new people that come over, they are literally mind blown. So I just think the upside for what we have here is just, I don't think we all comprehend where this can go. We're so used to having what's going on now. Richard being sued, he's a scammer. You go around to anyone outside the community and say Richard Hart, they look at you like, what the hell would you just say? And I think that's going to change. And when it does, and he actually has a voice in crypto, he's a good guy. We're not banned on CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko. We're not blocked on Uniswap. I just think there's so much upside, and people that see it now, congratulations.
Yeah, we are so early, huh, Vibra? It's just like, even though our charts are up, just the fact that our charts are up when Pulse Chain is down, I look at that as just a bonus, right? Whatever we can do against Pulse is a bonus, and then Pulse is just going to multiply us by that much more when the adoption does come.
Mm-hmm. Yep, spot on. And it's coming, bro. The money is going to start flowing in. There's like $6.5 trillion in money markets, and when you cut rates 50% overnight, you just lost 10% on your yield. So they do another cut like that, you're talking 20-25% less that you're earning. That money is gonna move risk on, I think. I hope.
Yeah, well, really the truth is store of values outside of crypto aren't that good anymore. So if you want to have a good place to store your value and actually earn APY and have appreciating assets, this is kind of where you need to go, or you're just getting diluted constantly. And obviously, that's what pTGC and UFO are trying to solve, and I think we did a pretty good job as far as the code to kind of hit all those nails on the head and offer an awesome tool as far as code goes on a super undervalued blockchain, which has like limitless possibilities.
Mm-hmm. There is a question in the chat. Let me pull it up. Give me a second. Oh, this gentleman says he onboarded like 20 to 30 people during the SAC phase. They all invested around 1,000. Now it's a huge discount. They don't want to buy any. I'm adding and have been for the last few months. Yeah, that's the story of a lot of. I onboarded people on the downward side of that last cycle. And yeah, it's been a little rough. Zick says, shouldn't the big liquidity be good to the project? Because then the bots should take more money between the UFO pairs and should be pushing the price even higher. And I would say yes, but Zen, you can articulate an answer better than I can.
Yeah, obviously pTGC's and UFO's goal is to stack up as much liquidity as we can at these levels. Some people say a lot of liquidity isn't always a good thing because it becomes harder to pump the project. How I look at that stuff is that's just smoke and mirrors if you're trying to do that. We want as much liquidity as we can because we want to have a lot of people win. We want, when we're sitting at the top, to be plenty of liquidity for everyone. If you don't care about liquidity and you're just looking for X's, the sad truth is usually one person gets those X's and 99% of people don't. And then another thing to factor in is we're pretty much one of the only protocols that make money off of our liquidity. Other protocols don't make any money off of their liquidity, so they're not gaining value off of getting more and more liquidity. Since we have this web design with the fee structure, the more liquidity we put in, the more our bots have to move. The more our bots have to move, the more value we get buy and burns, the more APY we get, more automatic LP ads we get. So our system is very different than a lot of things out there. So a lot of other things are just like, oh, what's X is what gets people's attention. In my opinion, ours actually has some real sustainable tokenomics to it that actually give longevity to where the many can win instead of just a few. And in my opinion, having tons of liquidity is very important for this.
I like that the liquidity is a representation of the rewards that are in people's wallets. My rewards included.
Yeah, I like that all the rewards that are in people's wallets are actually backed by real value coming in. And technically, there's no rewards paid out if there's no real value coming in. So that means that even when the rewards are used as a passive income source or profits, it technically doesn't equal down pressure on the chart because the only way you got those rewards is from up pressure on the chart.
Well, speaking of up pressure, I pulled up the weekly for pTGC, and it's been 6 weeks of green candles. I was always looking at like the 3-day, and that was enough to demonstrate it. But the weekly does a handy job too, and probably even the monthly.
Yeah, I posted the monthly chart of both projects, pTGC and UFO. UFO only has green monthly charts since its existence.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool, especially considering the fact that Pulse Chain went down for the first, 4 or 5 months of that. Yeah, so going over the top.
And he's gone.
Sorry.
He'll come back.
There. So the first one was Q&A. So obviously, if anyone has any questions, just raise your hand, and we'll just do Q&A as we just go through this space. So as soon as you have a question, just raise your hand, come on up, ask the question. We'll just drop what we're talking about and answer the question. Does that sound good, Banana?
Absolutely. I like that. That's it. Yeah, we're not here for you and I. We're here for the audience.
Yeah. So then the next one is going over the numbers. So I assume he's talking about going over the numbers as far as if Coach wants to go over the numbers. Got some numbers for us, Coach?
Yeah, I can go over some numbers.
Cool. while you're looking up those numbers, I'll kind of go through the rest of the list, and then you can kind of gather some of those numbers up. And then we have an update on the LP numbers, so we can talk about pretty much the increase in our LP size just in the last week, 2 weeks. We can talk about looking at the current market sentiment of RH's outbound messaging, so what RH has been talking about recently. Probably just by looking at his Twitter and discussing some of those recent tweets that he's been putting out.
That sounds exciting. Do you think that do you think that RH puts in his tweets, like, not subliminal stuff, but like hidden messages? To where he expects people to, or wants people to, or only the most savvy person, the most discerning people to read into his tweets and get what he's really trying to say? Do you think he does that?
I don't think that he's putting hidden messages in there, but I definitely do think he's trying to educate his community the best he can in the restrictions that he has been put under, because obviously he can't just straight say what he probably wants to say just due to the SEC case going on, and then just obviously just all eyes on him. So I think he can only really say facts, and his facts are like, just recently he said, all RH tickers are up double digits and stuff like that. So we have to look at that and say, like, is he telling us something here that he can't just say, hey, buy my tickers now, that was probably the bottom. He can't say anything like that. But I don't think he's technically trying to hide it. I just think he has restrictions due to his audience.
Man, UFO is ripping right now. I'm pretty sure it's in.
I think the key query to the post that RH did recently was he showed the 4 charts, and he talked about the X that it's done was the word sustained. So he's talking about the price bottoming out, back up, and you're seeing sustained price action happen. Those type of words, Richard was very thorough about. In my opinion, I don't think that he ever outbound messages like conspiracy theory shit, like stuff on. But definitely, if you have your finger on the pulse of everything RH, you could definitely pull out information if you're paying attention.
Yeah, somebody commented in the Telegram chat something, this week. It's got me on this thought track, and it was a very exciting comment. And I went to the post, and I was like, yeah, he did say that, but it wasn't really in the context, like the word. If you could pull those 2-3 words out, yeah, he said that, but it wasn't really in the context. And that got me thinking that maybe he puts those messages in there. But yeah.
So what are you referring to?
I don't recall what it was. Honestly, I don't recall. And it was days ago, so I'm not going to go look it up.
Yeah, so I'll read it. He's been putting out a bunch of stuff. So there's 2 days ago, sustained double-digit price increases. Right. So it's not just a price increase; it's a sustained price increase. There's a difference between those two things.
Yes.
Those are the type of things that I pay attention to, because I do believe that Richard chooses his words very astutely. He's just a very smart person. I don't think he just arbitrarily just throws shit on the wall and hopes it sticks. That's not his personality at all. So when he's showing the charts and he's talking about the amount of X off the bottom, and that we're now starting to see sustained price increases. To me, that's something I'm going to pay attention to.
Yeah, that's interesting. Coach, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready for some numbers.
Right on. Let's hear it.
So currently in liquidity alone, we have about, it only is showing on, so everybody has the secret obank.com that people have been utilizing. It's only showing about $1.6 million in liquidity when we actually have about $4.2 million of liquidity and all the other liquidity pools. One of the things that I wanted to point out, just for the audience to understand, like how everything is set up as well, is when it comes to the liquidity pools, the biggest liquidity pool that we have is, of course, Pulse Chain. The second biggest liquidity pool that we have with pTGC is with UFO at 900K. And then if you actually go down to my other children that I love so dearly, like with the buy and burn token, we have $821,000 of burnt liquidity there. Also as well with liquid, it has about 800. So in between the amplifier tokens, we have about $2 million in liquidity with those type of things. Also going into the numbers with UFO, we have had for the last roughly, let me give the numbers for like kind of like the weekly. Roughly in the last week, we've had about, so last 7 days, it's about $200,000 of volume with the UFO paired. So that's roughly in the last 7 days, UFO has bought and burned about $2,000 with a pTGC.
Coach, is that just one pair? That's not all the pairs for UFO, right?
No, it's roughly all the pairs, 200K. Because the Pulse pool is about $136,000 of liquidity, or not liquidity, volume. So I just added on like about 70,000 more, just looking at the average amount between the other pairs. I could be wrong.
I think it's wrong because I've noticed at least 2 days this week where there's been over $100,000 in volume just on UFO. So then that would obviously be that just in 2 of the days.
All right, let me add up the UFO since I already passed my numbers. So one of the other things that I wanted to point out is in regards to the LPs that we've been adding to in correlation with like PHEX, PulseX, Inc. Since at the bottom, putting in between $5 million to $10 million market cap, though the liquidity positions that we actually put in, it's already about 2x up. So on Hex alone, there's $150,000 of liquidity there with PHEX. So that's roughly 9.2 million PHEX that the DAO has bought and burned. So if you actually think about that in a logistics and non-emotional type of construct with that being a part of the pTGC ecosystem forever. Also with PulseX, roughly we're almost at 3 billion. We're at 2.7 billion PulseX in that liquidity pool, which is mind-numbing numbers. And then with Inc as well, we have over 20,000 Inc in that liquidity pool. So, and we really wanted to hit all those big boy numbers. actually, let's look at, and Mando, listen to this. We have 10.1 billion pulse chain in that V1 liquidity pool, which is, I think, a mind-numbing number. And we were trying to go for 5 billion, hitting that goal, and we surpassed that very, very well.
Yeah, once we get into 5 billion, it's almost like 10 million overnight. That's just lots of new money for you.
Yeah, almost done with the numbers, guys. And in reference with the, just giving everybody a bigger point of view on.
So, Coach, I just want to say, cumulatively right now, the system is about 120 million hex cumulative. Added almost 1 million hex to the LP yesterday alone in 24 hours, which yesterday was 300 million pulse chain yesterday alone. About 800,000 hex.
Yeah. And then just to put like a cherry on top of everything, the next 7 days, we have about 700 million pulse chain coming in to add more liquidities at these lower prices. And
Did you say 770 million?
yeah, 700 million pulse chain.
Wow.
The next 7 days.
And that's 40% of the total, right? That's automatic and system.
Yes.
It's far more than that.
Yeah, so every single proposal is talking about LP ads, and it's the smartest thing to do, especially at these levels that everybody thinks that Pulse and Pulse X and it's going to leave the station and hopefully go starting to move up on the kind of like the longer thought process of stack rate and how many X's are going to be there. Potentially, this might be the lowest we see the whole ecosystem in the future. So,
Well, 770 million Pulse is worth $35,000 right now. Do I have that right?
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, correct.
That's a big deal. That's a big number. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing on average, 150 higher volume days, 100 volume a day. Which again is only representative of 2%, not 5%.
That's the daily numbers of it. Remember when I used to do the numbers back in the day?
They're getting too big, Coach. They're getting too big for your head now.
I've got a number that might be helpful to people, to the audience. I got the idea from, well, somebody had mentioned in the chat or on a stream or video or something that it takes about a month to earn enough fees while you're staked. When you stake pTGC, there's the 1% withdrawal fee that you pay to end your stake. And somebody had conjectured that it's a short period, 1 month. And well, I actually penciled it out because I had that 1 million pTGC stake. And I was like thinking to myself, wow, I could go back because I've been keeping records and see when I broke even on, when I would be in profit after paying the 1% fee to end that stake. And I started the stake February 10th. And by September 11th, I broke even. So it took, I think that's 240 days and that was, mind you, during a period of mostly low volatility. So during periods of higher volatility, a stake would be, you'd pay for that 1% penalty more quickly. And if 240 days is a long period of time, which it isn't for me, because I'm just keeping my pTGC stake. then you just don't stake. But that's how long it took. It took 240 days for me to earn the 1% fee to end the stake.
Yeah, that's probably decently due to our price going up recently, because as the price goes up, you're going to be receiving less tokens, because it's about the dollar value that you're receiving, not about quantity of tokens. But that's definitely a very important metric to keep in mind, because if price keeps running up and you're looking to get out of a stake very soon, you need to keep that into consideration, because you're getting paid out in dollar value, because all volume is based on dollar value, not quantity of tokens, because it's not inflationary.
Right. Yep.
But I'd be interested to look over that math with you, because I don't think that's correct, but I'll look into it.
Okay. I've actually got it right in front of me. I should have been looking at it.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, and I'm not going to look at it right this second, just because we're running the space, and I'd have to pull up my computer and everything and look at it with you, but I'm happy to look at it with you later.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
So, what did you think, Sam, about BlackRock CEO coming out and saying, what he said about Bitcoin? I was wrong. Kramer instantly, within 30 seconds says, okay, I'm bullish on Bitcoin now. The next day, literally, Fed cuts rates by half. And within hours of that, Pulse Chain starts moving up. That's literally the chronology. And it's not just Pulse Chain, it's Bitcoin, it's ETH, it's everything, right?
It's time for it to move up, right?
It was a 1, 2, 3, just like that, within 48 hours.
Yeah. Well, it's time for it to move up, right? We're kind of at that point in the market. It needed that cool-off period to consolidate. But I think we're at the point where we should start moving up from here. There might be another consolidation in the future, and then maybe another push again. But timing-wise, it kind of had to happen.
Yeah, and one point I want to mention is that I think what the market had priced in was for a 25 basis point rate cut, but with it being 50, it was more of a positive shock to the market. So that's another point I wanted to mention.
Right, it's good for assets, and since technically we're all here holding assets, it's a pro for us.
Yeah.
Mando, you're breaking up.
Almost like 25 points would have been like a.
We're losing you, Mando.
Yeah, Mando, I think you're in a bad service area. We caught like half that.
Hey, I have some numbers to share.
Please.
So every day I track Ethereum gas prices, and every morning for the past 6 months, it's been 1, 2, 3. We're at 35 is the GOI right now to do a transaction on Ethereum. So in the past week and a half to 2 weeks, it went from 1, 2, maybe 5 on a busy day during the weekdays where people are actually at their computers at work. Now on a Saturday morning, we're at 35.
Oh, really?
So, well, yeah, I am telling everyone in the group here that the action is happening, because
that's how I can see it. I see the Gwei. When the Gwei's up, it's like, okay, everyone's out there making transactions, making moves. When the Gwei's down at 1, 2, 3, no one really cares. So I think that Fed cut rate plus everyone saying, hey, crypto is maybe the way to go, or at least enough people that the action is happening again. I just wanted to share that out.
No, that's good. I look at Gwei as an acid test too. I've never seen it so low in recent months, and it's already up to 35. You said on a Saturday morning. That's a big shift. I like that.
What is that translating right to in terms of just average swaps on Ethereum?
About $30
for cost. So we're looking at $30 swaps on ETH right now.
That's what Etherscan.io says. A swap is $29.67.
Yeah, because if it was 1 to 5, that means it just basically 5 to 8x within the last couple of weeks. And so there you go. There's Pulse Chain coming in to save your asses on transaction fees.
Yeah, baby.
Mm-hmm. And the whole narrative of, what did you need Pulse Chain for? Ethereum is cheap. Ethereum is cheap when nobody's using it. It's cheap when nobody is transacting on it. It gets expensive pretty quick when activity starts happening.
Yeah, it's $37 to do a swap right now. I'm on Uniswap.
I wonder if there's a meme coin running.
It's jumping hard now.
Someone's trying to do an NFT mint, right? They're trying to get the industry back, the dead NFT industry. It's amazing how Richard said, once all the NFTs have just been decimated as far as it can be decimated, that's pretty much when I'll say, okay, maybe we could turn around.
Yeah, that's an excellent point about the ETH gas, because when I had first checked it, it was at like 18 Gwei, and then I was looking to see how much it was going to do, or how much it was going to cost to do a swap. It said $33. I'm like, what the hell? And so when I had checked the Gwei in that instant, it had shot up to 64. I'm like, oh my God. And then
You're breaking up
a couple minutes later,
I can Yeah. Bottom line, ETH is becoming more expensive very quickly to transact on.
Yeah, to be honest with you, that's a big reason why I transitioned out of almost all of my ERC20 tokens, because if we're seeing Gwei for ETH like this right now, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like once ETH starts pumping and we get deeper into the bull run. Like, it's going to get ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes into $150 to $300 swaps are like normal. Even more. It's crazy.
I'm so glad most of my assets are over here on the Pulse Network. I got stuff over there I'm hopefully very bullish on, but I mostly play around on the Pulse Network. I love the transaction fees. Like less than a penny. Oh yeah, man. Sign me up.
Yeah, that's why on ETH, on ETH right now,
that be why I did that.
It's so important right now to just finish your bag. Like, if a lot of people I've worked with, like, they're down a ton on bags and they don't want.
Guys, pTGC is about to
Mando.
a $50
Vibra's talking.
million market cap.
Mando, I think you're gonna have to drop out and come back. Other people are talking. All right, go ahead, Vibra.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, I was just saying that a lot of people I work with, when they're down big on bags, they're down 90-95%, they just almost want to forget about them. And at that point, it's so critical if you believe in that project, if you think there's anything there. If you put $1,000 into a bag, it's down 90%. You can put $50 or $100 into it. Now you're in for $1,100, but you just doubled your bag. So the upside potential is just astronomical. So I've just been making sure everyone I work with to go through if you have bags that are crushed and you believe in them, add to them before gas gets super expensive and they start to pump, because it's going to get to that point where you just say, oh man, why didn't I? I should have done this. And now's that time where you can fix that feeling and stop, those things from prevent FOMO from happening in the future.
I agree with that 100%. Best time to buy is when everybody's scared, when you're scared. And when that price chart is like a reverse hockey stick. Like you said, if it has good tokenomics, that's a good time to buy.
Yeah, there's so many projects, Pulse Chain I think is suffering the worst from it. I mean, we are just absolutely punished down here. And it's the time where you can take a tiny bit of money, severely increase your bags, and then in another couple of weeks, I just know this market's going to keep pumping, and we're never going to see these prices again, and it's just going to be a little blip on the radar.
I have another number I was thinking about over the week. I put in a bunch of my Richard Hart coins, paired them with UFO back in March. And so I have a large bag of that and liquidity pairs. And I was making, some pulse over them, but I was watching how much pulse I was getting out of rewards compared to the daily volume using that Secreto Bank website where track daily volume. But I've noticed recently that the daily volume is roughly the same or a little bit higher, but my rewards are greater than they were in the past. And I asked pTGC what's going on with that, and he said, no, well, because you got in 6 months ago and you haven't exited your bags or changed your bags. And other people have probably seen the price go up and go, I've got a 4X on this, I'm going to get out. But by getting out, they're losing that position, that UFO share rate. And I'm finding that really interesting, that my UFO share rate is the same, even though my LP position has gotten worse. I had now more Pulse and Pulse X than UFO, but my share rate is the same. So my rewards are still locked in from a long time ago, about 6 months ago, but whatever. I'm just finding that really fascinating, that my rewards are growing even though the daily volume really hasn't. And that's not because I've done anything, it's because other people have cheated out. Just wanted to share that.
And isn't it cool that even though technically you should be experiencing like impermanent loss from the vantage point of just you have less of the UFO, you're still earning the rewards as if you had all of that UFO and more. That's one of the geniuses of the farm.
Yeah, that's been really great to see. I was shocked at it.
And with pTGC, it's a little bit different, but it's also the same thing. Because if you are just holding and staking, you're not being diluted against the deflationary nature of the token. So as you're compounding your rewards, the rewards that you're earning, you're continuing to at least stay at equilibrium, or to be honest, you're gaining against the underlying pool of rewards. As people sell, like you said, on a 4X, if you're not selling and you're compounding your rewards, you're increasing your percentage of the pool for the yield. So on both systems, you have a built-in way of that happening. They're obviously unique, but they're very powerful.
And the genius, the fact that he was able to have these LP pools and you don't have to pay that %. Like, that's what helped hold me back from pTGC and the pools. I'm too cheap. I don't want to hit that 6% fee going in and then 6% going out. So that's why I'm just staking my pTGC. But with UFO, I love that hex pool because I don't have to pay a % going in and out. And I don't know if people know that or not, but that's another genius thing that the Grade 369 has implemented into UFO.
Well, not only that, it doesn't matter if you love the hex pool or the PDI pool. It doesn't matter what pool you're in. You're still getting your percentage of the allocation, no matter what it is. It pays out cumulatively.
Yeah, and I want to say this out loud too, because some people may not be clear on it. If you enter the pTGC UFO pool, you're going to pay 11% going in. When you exit, 11% to exit. So if you entered that pool, you should probably plan on being in there for a good long time. But the other pools, the way it's built, you don't pay the fees to enter the pools. And like Mando just said, it doesn't matter which RH ticker you pair your UFO with, they all will reward the same. Zen, did you have?
I also wanted to bring up one of the features that I think is one of the coolest features about the UFO farms, if you are an LPI, is that you keep complete self-custody of your PLP tokens when you are providing the LP. Because I personally don't know of any farms, I'm sure there's one out there, but personally I don't know of any farms where you keep self-custody of your PLP tokens while you're providing the LP. Which is just like a basic RH principle that we have built into our system.
I think the very unique value add is the fact that in most farms, as people enter, you get diluted in terms of the financial energy, right? But because the farm with UFO is created in such a way to where you can only participate within the financial energy in the farm by adding to the underlying liquidity pool that creates the revenue. As people come into the farm, it's enlarging the revenue stream and enlarging the capital that underpins the protocol. So in that way, it's totally different than other farms. You want more people to come in, as opposed to in other farms, you don't want really people to come in because then they kind of take your yield.
Zen, did you have any more comments?
I guess one thing I was going to say to Blackthorn, because he was someone I remember, which I'm sure he's happy with this decision right now, but he was a little bit on the fence about switching some of his RH tickers to, let's say, UFO. He was really connected with those RH tickers, and I bet even the impermanent loss that he's receiving in the UFO farms, he's probably not opposed to it in a certain way, because his UFO is paired with, let's say, Pulse. So as the UFO price keeps climbing up, he's technically getting a lot of his PLS back. So it's exiting him into the impermanent loss, into the positions that he was afraid to lose at a game. And he's making rewards at the same time. And the funny thing about that is he was so afraid to give up those at some point, which I agree, a lot of people are in this situation to give up your RH tickers and try something new. But it's funny that the system is actually giving him a lot of his RH tickers back, plus the PLS rewards. And then he just has these UFO share rates locked in from early on. Not everyone is going to stay locked into their share rates, but what's interesting is as the price of UFO keeps trickling up, the UFO share rates become that more expensive, but he will still have his UFO share rates locked in from when he first started, which creates a situation where maybe with the new people coming in, it doesn't make as much sense providing LP because they didn't get the chance to lock in the UFO share rates early. It maybe makes more sense for them just to hold the tokens, because just with UFO, you can hold UFO and earn APY, and everyone who is providing LP is actually helping you get more APY and making the UFO token deflationary. It just kind of depends on the individual and how long term they are. If they're looking to DCA out of their position, if they're looking to DCA in, there's just so many moving parts to where I feel like this protocol can actually relate to every individual. And, every individual has a different plan, and I feel like you can kind of study these protocols and adjust your plan to something within these protocols. Like UFO, if you don't want to interact with any smart contracts, you literally can just hold UFO and earn APY. If you want to just single side stake, you can get pTGC and just single side stake. If you do want to provide LP as a farm and earn additional PLS rewards, you can farm. Like we almost have a special sauce for every person. You know what I mean? It's, you know, every person's different. They like different things, and we kind of have every single one. And people can kind of just come to our ecosystem and pick what they want to involve themselves in.
Does anybody else want to come up and mention anything, talk? You can just raise your hand. Or you can, if you have the mic, you can just unmute.
Nearing a $50 million market cap.
I have a question, guys.
Go ahead.
So I have a UFO, and I had it LP with PDI, and I'm gaining PLS as we go. So I just wanted to see yesterday what would go on. So I claimed my rewards. Down at the bottom, it was 12,133 PLS. So I claim my rewards, and then when I go back into my wallet and click on my PLS, only 9,200 went into my wallet. I still can't figure out what went on with that situation. Why wouldn't I get all those rewards?
Yeah, I would have to look at it pretty much on pulse scan to see what was going on there. It could have just been a UI issue going on. Have you gone back by chance to the rewards section to see if any of them are lingering there?
Nothing's lingering. Okay. I was trying to figure out, and I asked in the chat, people were like, oh, that's odd. So I was like, God, it's, because that was the first time I had ever claimed them from when I started. I just kind of wanted to see. But when you go to claim them, it fills up that thing. Are you sure you want to? So I didn't know if you paid a little tax on that or what went on. So I was kind of confused.
No, there is no tax on it.
What's that?
There is no fee to claim the pulse rewards with UFO.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. I didn't think there was, but I don't understand how from 12,133 went down to 9,200. That was all that came in my wallet into my Rabby. So I don't know. That's why I was asking. I've only been in the system for I don't want to say about 4 weeks, but I don't really know.
Lost 3,000, right?
Yeah, I lost 3,000 tokens for some reason, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I would have to study that transaction a little bit. I don't think 3,000 would be the gas fees. Maybe I would have to look at that because that seems pretty high for gas fees. I know the gas fees for claiming are pretty high with UFO because when you claim with UFO, the smart contract checks other users as well, making sure they're actually following the rules of the farm. And this is like a security check to make sure that everyone isn't manipulating the system. And then if someone is manipulating the system, it checks them and does pretty much takes their PLS from them if they're manipulating the system, because that's how you can keep self-custody. That was our solution, is we're constantly checking people's bags to make sure they're not manipulating it so they can keep self-custody. And it's just a small fee, but still 3,000 seems too much to me. It could have been just a UI thing, but I would have to look at that specific transaction and follow. You can follow pretty much where everything goes.
Yeah, I'm kind of new. I'm kind of new to, I've, probably been in for 11 months, and, I've finally learned how to do quite a few things, but starting to track my stuff is new to me. And,
okay.
I'm not the biggest computer guy in the world. I mean, I know how to do enough stuff to get myself in trouble. That's about it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what was going down. So I was wondering.
Put your wallet address into DBank and try to find the transaction. It should tell you the transaction.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try that. Because I was wondering, I mean, it's not a big deal. I'm not going to cry about 3,000 BLS, but you know what I mean? It's just,
No.
I was just wondering what it was.
No, and
I think it's probably a gas thing or something like that, or just a UI thing, but there is no fee. So I know it didn't go to a fee situation, but I'm happy if you ever send me a DM to look into it myself to just try to give you an answer.
Well, I can give you guys an answer. So about, I think it was roughly, I don't know, it was like 5 or 7 days ago. Like I do a lot of transactions and all that kind of stuff. So there was at one point in time where it was like a gas transaction to claim some pTGC was about 4,000 pulse. One time with claiming my pulse rewards from the UFO was roughly as high as about 8,000 pulse. So that might be kind of like where you're getting at with the number, but it would be very easy just to look at anything.
Yeah, if you were perhaps using Rabby Wallet and paying for the transaction out of the transaction, if that makes sense, because you could do that in Rabby Wallet. That might have been a factor, perhaps. But I personally want to know what happened. So, and I think it's important.
I'm gonna keep my stuff on there. I'm going to really track it next time and try to keep you guys. I'll let you know what's going down to see maybe that's what it was, because I do use Rabby.
Okay, well, let's find out what happened with that transaction in particular. In my experience, my own personal experience and experience working with others, every time there is a hiccup or something, it seems like something fishy happened, or I lost some money. Every single time it has been, as Zen said, like a UI error or human error. This is the thing about smart contracts. They are as dependable as the calculator on your cell phone. 6 times 7 is always going to equal 42. And in my experience, every time it's always UI or user error. But I want to know the answer on that one.
Let me just give you another perspective. So I've been collecting all morning long, and roughly it's gauging between about 300 to about 1,000 pulse when claiming different things.
Yeah, you can also just be the unfortunate guy that pressed the claim button right when Gwei popped for some reason on the network, and you didn't really pay attention to it, because if you're using Rabby, it'll tell you what the Gwei is before you run the transaction, but it'll automatically set it up to a rate that puts the transaction through. And unless you're monitoring it, that's probably what happened.
Well, does it make a difference? Because I have Hex too, so I had both of them. So if I claim the rewards at the bottom instead of claiming each individual one, do you think it might have took gas for both those transactions at the same time?
It does take gas for both transactions, just so you know. Even when you're doing claim all, it's just doing them both for you, so you don't have to click the button every time. But yes, you're paying on both of them.
I bet you that probably had something to do with it. Just might have been a really high point.
I think it's a combination of a few things, because like I said, that specific function actually costs a lot of gas, because when you're doing that transaction, you're also kind of paying into the smart contract, checking everyone else in that pair to make sure they're acting benevolently, because we don't want people manipulating the system by like closing LPs and stuff like that. So that's how we check everyone is actually fulfilling what they're saying they're going to fulfill.
Okay, got it. Thank you guys. I appreciate that, because it was mind-boggling.
You're welcome, man. Who else wants to jump up, make a comment, ask a question?
brought someone up. I don't know if he wanted to speak. XMYSG3.
Last I checked, just minutes ago, both pTGC and UFO are in price discovery. So it's good times, guys. I'm so happy. This will be like just on a personal. This will be my first full cycle. I got in at the top of the last one, so been dollar cost averaging in the whole time, and I'm ready. I am very ready. And I'll make a comment. Something I learned recently, and it came from our age, recency bias. So it works both ways. During coming out of a bear cycle, which we just came out of, our recency bias is that, okay, I'm going to put in $1,000, it might turn into 1,200. But at the top of the cycle, our recency bias is going to be this perspective. This is not financial advice and all that speculation. I put in $1,000 and it turns into $100,000. But right now, our recency, our minds are thinking, I'm going to put in 1,000, it's going to turn into 1,200. And so I guess I would encourage everybody to have a plan going into this bull run, and preferably have it in writing. And I'm going to be working with somebody on a presentation. We're going to do it. We might do it like a series of financial planning, how not to get wrecked. Because many of us in here have not experienced what we are about to experience, and we better have our heads on straight. Otherwise, what we want now, what we want for ourselves right now, might not pan out if we don't behave and respond to what's coming into our wallets appropriately. And it'd be wise to get ready now versus when we're at the cycle top wondering what to do. I know from experience recently, I experienced this, and this is probably what provoked this whole thought process. Something was going on in my wallet and I did not know what to do. I was reaching out to people and I was practically in a panic. And I did what I needed to do, and it all worked out. But I literally I had no plan, and I almost got wrecked.
Yeah, I guess touching base on the Rex thing, one of the most important things in my opinion is security. Especially during the bull market, there is going to be tons and tons of scams going after the security of your self-custody. We just saw someone recently getting DMs from accounts with the same names, like obviously with letters changed, but similar names to our community members' names, trying to trick them into logging into websites and connecting to dApps that will drain your funds. There's an endless list of ways scammers try to take custody of your wallet and get your tokens. And this isn't even just from them hacking. This is from projects coming out, and these projects are specifically launched for you to put your PLS in to get their token out, and then they rug pull it or they just drain it. Just be careful, because this space is still the Wild West, and I think it's important just to take the security of the assets you do own very, very seriously.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. Security is going to be a big deal. And if you're not working off of a hardware wallet, I recommend that you get a hardware wallet. While we're on that topic, never digitize your seed phrase. That means never screenshot it, never even type it into a keyboard, never even whisper it out loud, and keep it, keep a master and a backup engraved in stainless steel, in my opinion. That seed phrase is your crypto. It's important to get those things in place right now. Really, it is, because right now we can think with a level head. When there's euphoria and panic going on, we're not going to be thinking straight. At least that's my experience with myself.
When I got onboarded, that was one of the first things that the onboarded people did for me, was teach me security and all of that. And I think a lot of people are missing out on that, running off of their phones, and doing things like that. And that's when people are going to get wrecked. When they say not everybody's going to make it in the bull run, it's going to be those people that are trusting their phones and not doing the security things, because when it happens, it's gone and there's no getting it back.
Yeah. The one time I did crypto on a phone, and I knew not to, but it was a special situation, if you will, and I made an exception, and it didn't go well. I'm like, well, there's why I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I have a plan for. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I have a written down plan. One is retired debt plan, and second is quit day job. And I've got those written down. I told my wife and my dad and my brother and my kids what my plan is, so they're going to hold me to it. Because I am so afraid that I see something that went from 100,000 to 2 million, and I go, I'm just going to keep writing. I'm just going to keep writing it. If I take out the money to retire my debts, I'm going to keep writing. And then the joke in crypto is that people tell their job, tell their boss, hey, I quit, I'm rich, and then 2 years later they come back to their boss and say, hey, can I work here again? Because the crypto was just vaporware that I didn't actually turn into real money and actually change my life with. So I do have a written plan. Look, we're going to retire my debt plan and then quit my day job plan. And I told my family just because I'm afraid I won't trust myself when I get a euphoria mindset. That's my plan, at least. Just want to let you know.
There you go.
There is something I'd like to mention to everybody on here, that you do get these great gains, and you got these 3-letter agencies that want to take your money, and there is some things out there you can do. I have gotten into a trust. You set up an LLC, you get into this trust, you pay a percentage, but you don't have to pay taxes on that. You can defer your taxes until you take your money out of your trust.
Yeah.
Might be worth looking into. I can drop the link into the comments, but the guy is named Chris, and a great guy, and knows a lot about the tax game. And I tell you what, when you can move your money around the system without paying taxes, it sure is a sweet thing.
Yeah.
Just a word of advice. If anybody wants anything, I'll drop it down there. But you can call them and set up a call. And when you say you get $1 million and you put it in this trust, and it just sits there, and say you want to take out $100,000 that year or $200,000 that year, that's what you pay taxes on. You don't pay it on $1 million, which would be $300,000. So just I'll drop that link down in there, but just wanted to put it out there for everybody.
Yeah, thanks for that. Probably going to be doing an interview with a buddy of mine that does capital gains tax deferment. Probably exactly what you're talking about. And yeah, it's going to be a thing. How to exit properly without paying too much in taxes. How can we do what the rich do and not pay taxes? Crypto Jack says bookmark those websites. He says he's been hacked before. That's a good idea too. You know, there's a big difference between pulsetgc.com and pulsetgc.io. I don't know if there is such a thing, but if you ever ended up on a pulsetgc.io, it's probably a scam site. So bookmarking your sites is a great idea. Bouncing off of reputable sites like pulsetgc, bounce off to find that site, bounce off of Deck Screener. Well, it belongs.
And double checking as you're going through everything. You know, every time you're clicking confirm, double check the scenario you're in. I always suggest that people do as minimal amount of clicking as possible. The least amount of times you have to open that crypto lab.
We lost you, Hayden. You're saying the least amount of times you have to open up your laptop.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Either my phone muted itself or I accidentally clicked it. I look at it as the least.
There he goes again.
I don't know why it's doing that on its own.
Oh dear. Hmm. So the space ended. He ended the space, I think, by accident. Let's see. I was going to communicate probably in Telegram. Fat fingered the keyboard probably. All right, let me go to Telegram, see if he messaged me. I think we can. I think we can call it, in my opinion. If you want. We could. Yeah. Thanks, Horsepower. Appreciate that. Appreciate that positivity in the comment. Yeah. Loving the pump. It's great, man. It's really, it's what we've been waiting for. All right. Sri OX says, gotta love those UFO reflections. Yeah, sure do. I mean, literally, you pair your UFO with an RH ticker and you got free pulse for the rest of your life. Free gas money. Yeah, the space is shut down, Lemonade. I think Hayden accidentally hit the keyboard wrong. I think is what happened. Because he was talking, trying to troubleshoot, and then the space closed. How can I message him? Give me a second, guys. Yeah, space is shut down. Yeah, the interesting thing is that we are rewarded in the UFO pools with Pulse. pTGC is moving up against Pulse. So it kind of stands to reason you guys. Secretobank.com and go to the tab that says gray profile picture. Upload your profile picture and then get it all situated and download it and then update it on your socials, your YouTube, Twitter, and Telegram. And you can see all the people that have updated theirs. It's pretty cool. I'm stalling. Yeah, man, guys, I love it. I'd love to see all this is the Space Force Army, guys. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, man. So whenever you see anybody on Twitter or YouTube or Telegram with a gold ring, it says the Gray's currency right there, and you know what they're, you know what they're about. Yeah, Spaces got rugged. Rough. Let me make sure, because I think we're going to close it down. Make sure I didn't get a... Okay. You said he reopened it. Yeah, sure. Check there. Reopened. Give me a second. Funny. Tech, guys. It's challenging. Spaces. I'm trying to be. Okay, here we go.
I found out where the parade is.
Still live, but it's okay.
You can tell them you're going to a football game and a parade today with your wife.
Yes.
Adapt and gave up their seed phrases or gave up the custody of their tokens. My cousin being one of them. When I first onboarded my cousin, I told him, hey, you have to go on the Uniswap. He Google searched Uniswap without checking it was the right Uniswap. Some scammer paid for a ad on the top of Google for a fake Uniswap, and then he typed in his 12-word seed phrase into the Uniswap fake website. Obviously, he just didn't have enough knowledge about the space. I wish I was there to be with him, because I would have obviously told him don't do that. But he did it, and then lost $5,000 right when he got entered into crypto.
That's very sad.
Dude, I helped a woman get onboarded. And she said she wanted to start with X amount, and she did way more. And I told her, don't do anything. Don't do anything. Literally anything, because you're going to lose all your money. She does the exact opposite, man. And the first week in crypto, lost 50 G's, bro. Literally clicking on an airdrop website. And then she sent another 25 G's to a ICO for Slothana on Solana from her centralized exchange wallet. They sent the tokens to Coinbase just to watch the token just explode in value, and she couldn't sell it. Now it's dead. So when you're new, you have to know you're new, and you have no clue what you're doing if you're new. So it's just better to do nothing once somebody sets you up.
100%. I just onboarded 2 people yesterday, literally no coiners, and I got them both into pTGC UFO and Pulse Chain. And afterwards, okay, well, what do I do now? And I said, you do nothing. Just close that computer and put it away. Don't even try to learn on your own. You can, go do YouTube. You can do tons of learning without touching that computer. There's no reason to touch it for now.
That's really good advice. I love that.
The problem is, man, it's like Eve with Satan and that beautiful apple just hanging from that tree. That's the problem with with crypto. They think they can handle it, but they have no clue what happens when you bite that apple.
Well, just the whole space is designed that way. There's a new token that launches every single minute that people brag about being up X's on, and it's the newest thing. Then, you know, you get into it, people sell on you. There's no mechanics to make it have longevity. It's a rug pull in a day. You know, it's just a world of shiny objects, and that, you know, even once they learn, they have to learn that side of it too. Is there's a lot of research to know what projects you get in. And that's kind of what I was saying. It's like right now where we are at the market, it's about getting on the right ship. You know what I mean? You just need to find the right ship, because the right ships are going to make it, and the wrong ships are going to sink to the bottom of the ocean. But I guess going back to, we were talking about our LP pools growing in size. It's definitely nice to see the RH tickers ticking up, because we've been fighting them for 6 months, and now that they're ticking up with us, it's just increasing our liquidity pool size so rapidly. Because for one, pTGC, it's all burnt and protocol-owned liquidity, so that can never be removed ever. So just what's there is there forever, and pretty much we're adding to it currently every day. So it's increasing every single day. And then UFO is increasing, in my opinion, and will continue to increase, even though it's community ran.
Yeah. What are we looking at back at a 3 zeros and a 2? I mean, from here, probably a very strong, I don't know, double at least $1 billion worth of, yeah. It's amazing to me to know that if you look at the history of pTGC, if you look at the history, if you look at it, whether, you know, it's on the weekly or whatever, I mean, essentially everyone who has ever bought pTGC in the history of pTGC is in profits.
That's a fact. Right now, we're in price discovery.
Astronomical when you're looking at almost a 12-month chart, and you can legitimately say that not only did it outpace the L1 by so many X's, but everyone's in profits. That's absolutely astronomical.
And people buy green candles, so now is the time to show everybody green candles on Twitter and any socials. Both of these tokens are in price discovery. It's beautiful.
The thing, though, with that statement, Banana, is usually I would say that's not correct. Like, it is the time people do buy green candles, but it's not really the best time for you to onboard people, because you want to get people in at good prices. But what's unique about this situation, that we have been trending up against Pulse Chain, but Pulse Chain is actually at the greatest buy opportunity probably since its existence, because we're running into a bull market. It's very, very cheap. It's just confirmed on like an RSI or MACD standpoint that it's time for it to reverse. You know, if you're a trader, it's kind of hit these metrics that you're looking for. It's making a higher high now. So you have them buying our green chart, but actually it's still completely undervalued because of our tied liquidity pairing. So I do actually believe in what you're saying with this current unique situation. Because of everything we're connecting being so undervalued and us being so heavily connected to it, it doesn't actually necessarily matter that we've had such a good run up, because it doesn't need to consolidate or go down. Because if everything we're connected to keeps running, our machine just keeps doing its thing, we move up to higher levels and higher levels. It's just a very unique situation. So I personally do feel confident in onboarding people at these levels, even though we're at all-time highs, because everything we're connected to is at all-time lows, and they also have product market fit and longevity.
Right. Yeah.
I look at it as just a bonus. Like, anyone who's been participating in pTGC since, not even the early days, like just in the last 5 months, if you were scooping that dip 2 months ago, you're up like 6x against Pulse Chain. I think even probably 6x on the USD chart as well.
Yes.
Someone could confirm that. I'm just going off of my head. But I look at it as just a bonus. Like, we're going to get every X that Pulse Chain does and more. I even had someone recently kind of trying to write, they were trying to write a FUD on pTGC, and they were showing us doing all our buy and burns, saying that it's market manipulation when it's absolutely the opposite. And their pictures were showing a wallet literally buying up pTGC and then burning it forever. And that's where our 11% burn has came from. And they just didn't know that that was all getting sent to the dead address as buy and burns. And then they're also showing our buy and burn address as a whale that has too much of the supply. And it was just like, well, dude, that's the dead address. That is the best case scenario that you could ever ask for, is that being the biggest holder of this project.
So many people on X are not qualified. They haven't even graduated fucking 3rd grade crypto. And they try to be reporters, and they have no clue what the hell they're doing.
Well, and they don't even understand how standard V2 liquidity works. And they don't understand that they're looking at our chart saying this is overbought right now, but they don't understand, since we're connected to everything that's oversold, we actually are not overbought right now. Because everything we're connected to is oversold. We just need those things that are connected to us to go up, and then we go up more.
Does anybody have their hands up? Does anybody have any questions? If anybody who considers themselves a crypto enthusiast who's in here doesn't quite understand the system, if you have questions or comments, if you're in the community and you have some thoughts, we'd love to hear any of it.
Yeah, I'm bringing up someone right now. You just raised their hand. Go ahead.
Hello, hi. I got onboarded, airdrops from a friend of mine, some of your coin like 6 months ago, and I've been just holding it. But yeah, I just wanted to pop in here just to say hi to everyone, and hello, and just learn about this, because I literally just got airdropped, and I was like, here's my UFO, and I was like, cool, thanks. And yeah, dude, I've been seeing the charts just pop recently, so I just wanted to pop in here and say hi, and also ask what your thoughts are on onboarding, and also what your thoughts are on potentially doing stuff with artists, if that's something that you might be interested in terms of onboarding.
Well, as far as onboarding right now, I think our biggest struggle is just Pulse Chain in general, since it's a fairly new chain and the charts aren't super bullish as far as the blockchain itself. It's a little bit hard to get people over to this chain that are new, instead of just the same money spinning around in this pool, which currently is Pulse Chain. So we're really working on bringing fresh capital into the chain, because more money that comes to the chain not only helps us, but it helps the blockchain alone, right? And I think that's going to come a lot easier once Pulse Chain starts going up in price, But I definitely think just the pTGC and UFO charts, since they're technically just up and to the right at this point, is very helpful in this process, because when people see a chart that's up and to the right, they obviously start asking themselves, how is this possible? And why are they succeeding? As far as artists go, like we're definitely always happy when people make art for pTGC and post it in the, in the Twitter or the Telegram, and spread those images, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. 100%. I agree with everything you're saying. I just was curious on like what your thoughts were on all that stuff. So I know like certain like people in Pulse Chain are like doing certain things with the coins, but obviously I feel like you guys are doing it differently than a lot of other people in Pulse Chain right now. So that's why I was like just interested to see why it's successful and why it's doing so good, to be honest.
So, that has to do with what you do with the economic energy and where it's allocated, where the energy of the community is allocated and diverted to, right? So with pTGC, the unique thing about it is that 100% of the economic energy that comes into this community is given right back to the community. And so there's no waste involved. There's no, we have to, go make a white picket fence. And we have to, go have 49,000 NFT launches. And because all of the funds, all of the revenue goes directly back to reward holders, goes directly to continue to bolster up the liquidity pools, which give your tokens real value, and to buy and burns, which make your tokens more valuable in USD value. So pTGC has cut out all of the waste, right? With that said, marketing is awesome. You want to have strategic marketing, but you do that at strategic times and strategic ways, right? And if you do that, you want to have that capital maximized and be very efficient with it. I think what Zen did, but with creating this, he created a very efficient machine that cuts all the BS that you normally see happening in crypto. And by doing that, you create a closed system environment where the money just goes right back to the token holders. That's what attracts me the most.
Interesting. Thank you. Yeah, I'm interested in like seeing why this is doing so good, and it's just interesting seeing perspectives of how it's like built. Yeah. Thank you.
Do you have any specific questions that you don't understand, or were you looking just kind of like an overview real quick on like mathematically why it keeps going up?
Yeah, that's kind of just the main thing. Like I read about it on the site, but I was just like, my brain was a little bit confused about it, but it's okay. It's basically like, is it using AI to some extent to like the machine itself is? I'm just confused, I guess, a little bit, a tiny bit, but it's all good. I'm just an artist in the space, to be honest. I don't trade too much.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a little rundown. So how I look at crypto as a whole is it's just a big spreadsheet.
Guys, you're gonna have to catch
right?
this on.
And you can
on
actually formulate these
Twitter
numbers
space
to keep pushing the price up to make it to
So,
where there's a
I
scenario
gotta
where
shut this
everyone
down.
can win. Most people don't ever even try
Thanks
to
for
do
showing
this
up,
in
everybody.
crypto. They just create a utility-based token.
Okay, I'm off of there. Like and sub. I'm not far away from 1,000. Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend.